if you're scoring to picture, there's likely to be dialogue. So the most important thing is in your choice of instrumentation, in your choice of palette, you want to stay away from instruments that are going to compete with dialogue. Because otherwise it won't work, or they'll have to mix your music really far down till it's not heard anymore. So for example, you look at where the bulk of human speech is, which is kind of between 2,000 hertz. The really intelligible part is at 4,000 hertz. It's the kind of the sibilants and the consonants that help us really recognize words, and then a little bit above that. And so if you try to overlay a trumpet to someone who's talking, it's going to interfere because it's right there in that. If you want to overlay like a violin solo when someone's talking, it's going to be problematic. And so you need to make firstly good choices that leave room for the dialogue to sit well with your music. And a lot of the time we are driven by making our music more and more sparse. In a sense, the less there is that can still work, the better, because it gives room then for the sound effects and the dialogue. So a lot of the time, young composers, we all kind of show off a bit and we all want to sound like John Williams. So we fill it up. It becomes really dense and it just doesn't coexist very well. And so as you get more experience, you start learning to like mute channels. Like I'm going to mute this instrument, mute that one, and listen to it again and say, am I missing anything? And if you're not, keep it muted. And being really bold about being a self-editor and just saying, okay, it was a great passage that I wrote, but it's not going to work. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it just in terms of exactly what it needs to do in the most effective and subtle and efficient way. And that is the craft. That's where the beauty happens. In film, like in a lot of areas of music, we do like to play with what's called the leitmotif, which is you create a theme for either a situation or a person. The best example of that is The Godfather, where you have very specific themes that for Papa Godfather and then Michael Corleone. And that theme then expresses itself as Michael as he takes over the family, business and reaches his peak. And what was a thread of a meek theme becomes this great majestic thing when he reaches that point of power. And so what's happening there is we're using subconsciously, we're attaching a melody to a character, and that helps the audience find their way through and know what's going on. I mean, one of my rules of writing for film and television, and also VR, which we'll get to, is as a composer, be kind to your audience. And what I mean by that is help guide them to understand what's happening in a scene. Because the visuals and the dialogue may not, in some cases, deliver on that. And so you want to help them find their way through. And you can do that, with, again, harmonic structure and emotion, but you can also do that by having a specific melody that sings throughout and comes back in different forms. And you kind of, again, subliminally, it's like Michael Corleone is rising up. And all of this happens on this incredible subliminal level. So that's, another trick. And there are many. I mean, while, maybe you can't learn to have taste or be a great composer, there are lots of tricks that can get you, to make very effective music, whether or not you have any talent for it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, that's all for today's episode of The Power of Audio, Science and AI. I'm Jasmine Moradi, your host, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and support by sharing this content on your social media. This episode is supported by Stockholm Music City.